Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And we are back with, and just like that, Season 3, Episode 5, Under the Table. So high level, I'm just going to share with you the process that I went through watching the show, which was, I got to stop complaining about it so much. Like I get nitpicky and annoyed and I get in my head. And so I'm like, I'm really just going to just show up and just enjoy the show and watch this show. And I was trying to be like in it and there. And the whole time I'm just thinking to myself, are these people assholes? Am I the asshole or are these people assholes? It just felt like it was a lot of complaining about, I don't know. I thought Carrie was kind of a bit. I mean, he was a lot, but there was just this kind of like, oh, wait, I have a downstairs neighbor. It's like, didn't you buy this place? How does this work that you bought this place and you have to keep him as a subletter? You didn't know who you were subletting to? I mean, it's so weird. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, we complain a lot.
Yes, we do.
To be fair, I think if you recorded our conversations, they would sound a lot like this, complaining about everybody.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know why Carrie, I guess she was so swept up in the romance with Aiden that she wasn't listening when, Seema told her, oh, by the way, yes, there's a renter in this building that you're buying.
Yes.
But I don't know. That's kind of par for the course for Carrie.
That is true. That's very Carrie.
She doesn't pay a lot of attention to things that, she doesn't think are important in the moment. But yeah, it is. I mean, did she not notice she was getting checks from someone?
Yes, that is true. Well, listen, this woman has so much goddamn money that she can very slowly write a book. Yeah. Duncan has to work. Duncan's got to get a book. He's got deadlines. He's got to get books out. Carrie, we don't even know if this woman has deadlines. All she has to do is put on fashionable outfits and think about buying furniture.
No, she's
not even buy it.
She's trying something new, with her writing.
Yes.
She's leisurely becoming a 18th century novelist,
Yes.
We don't know. She's going to go where the day takes her.
Is she writing any of these things down or is she just thinking these things in her head? We don't have many sequences of her ever writing.
Well, they open up with her, doing this, dialogue.
Internal monologue.
Which is presumably from her book that she's writing. So she's writing something, I don't know. Carrie just really has the life,
Yeah, she does.
She lives the life of Riley. So, they show her just, traipsing all over the place with her shoes. And that whole shoe montage. And it was like, okay, I don't know.
Well, so did you listen to the Writer's Room, the podcast?
I told myself this week I wouldn't but I did, because it's just so insufferable. And it's like, why am I punishing myself this way? I am a masochist. And
yes,
this one was particularly bad because, okay, so Julie Rottenberg, who's been a writer, producer on this show, Sex and the City, from the beginning, she actually directed this episode. And Michael Patrick King deferred to her because of her status. She's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. The woman, Susan Powell, who actually wrote the show, barely got to say 2 words. And this is what, as I'm listening to this podcast, this man is explaining why what the writing is, or what the thought behind the writing was. And he didn't even write it. And the writer's sitting right next to him.
Yes.
Like, you can't let her, the woman who wrote it, tell us what she was thinking. No, he has to explain. I mean, well,
yeah. The other thing, did you notice that he's obviously, his job on the podcast is to move things along, right? Because, to kind of be the quarterback, the person kind of in control, like, I'm going to lead the people. But what happens a lot of times is, if someone's talking about something, he'll just interrupt it and be like, well, okay, then the next scene is blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, dear God, they don't get to finish their thought. And then when he wants to really linger on something, he's going to linger on it. It is. And that's the thing. I didn't even know she was the writer. I can't even retain who's the writer, who's directing, who's doing anything. I just assume he's doing it all. And what drives me crazy is I'll watch the show and I'll be like, I don't know. Okay. And then you listen to the podcast and then I kind of feel like I'm being convinced of something. Like,
yeah,
someone's sitting down convincing me.
Like, we can't have our own thoughts.
Yeah. And the other part of it is, again, it's back to this whole, am I an asshole kind of thing, which is, they also talked a lot about being New Yorkers, and we are not New Yorkers. We are Northern Californianers, but we've both lived in big cities with roommate, noise. And I lived in San Francisco a couple times. There's always been noise and all of this kind of stuff. And so this is a big part of life. And I guess it's just like, when someone below you says, hey, can you take your shoes off? You take them off.
No,
like, you're just respectful about it.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, the way the whole scene was about how, like, in New York, we all have to get along and do that. And so I'm like, so if they all have to get along and he's your renter, yeah, and we know this one well. We had to make renters be happy, and Seema's right. It is hard to get rid of someone. So this is your renter. You got to make it work with him 6 months of the year. And it's almost like she's incredulous. Like, how dare he, write it at night or whatever it is. It seems like he just kind of writes whenever. That's the other weird thing, is I need it quiet. It's like, yes, it's too much to ask someone to be quiet all day long, but I don't think it's too much to ask, like, can you get some rugs and take your shoes off sometimes?
Well, and she did eventually compromise, and, she got the runners and she took her shoes off and all of that. But yeah, in the beginning, she was being very snotty. And so her downstairs tenant is this man, Duncan Reeves, who's a famous biographer. Of course, Carrie has no idea who he is.
Yes.
Even though she is a writer.
Yeah, well, I think she kind of was like, oh, okay. I think she kind of faked it at lunch. Like, oh, yeah.
No, she doesn't know who he is. Trust me. I mean, Miranda is reading his work.
Yes.
It's like biography. I guess he's working on a biography of Margaret Thatcher.
But remember when Charlotte was talking about how Harry's been reading it for 5 years? Remember, you had a friend who was also reading one of those historical novels, that John Adams novel, for years and years and years.
Oh,
remember,
yes.
David Sternfeld would tell about. Yeah.
I don't think it took him 5 years, but.
Oh, okay.
God, I heard about that book for 5 years, because he just kept, like, pulling out quotes from the book, but
yeah, but I think this is kind of these historical novels. I think this is what happens. You write musicals. You have to quote it at lunch constantly. I think it's like, so I thought all of that was very clever and smart to pick someone like that who is sort of he's a different kind of writer.
Yes, very different from Miss Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's traipsing around making all this noise, and we see him. At first, I didn't know where we were, who this was. You see this man in a bed, tossing and turning like violently, and just like obviously just at his wit's end, and the room that he's in looks like a hovel. And I'm like, where are we? At first I thought it was Aiden in his like farmhouse or like his unfinished farmhouse, because the ceiling is all weird and cracked. And I mean, it looked like a hovel. And then we see the rest of it, the kitchen, this is a horrible rental. Like it is awful. And she's lucky anyone's paying her to live down there. So, I'm like, who is this? What's happening? And then it all comes together and we find out. But, he comes upstairs first and says, hey, introduces himself. She doesn't even know who he is or why he's there. And, they got off on the wrong foot, to say the least.
Yes. Yes. And listen, and I'm not saying he wasn't a jerk. I'm not saying that his approach wasn't great by any means.
No.
But she was just, you're a writer too, Carrie. You must know what that's like. Someone who's not getting sleep, who's feeling frustrated, and you didn't even know he existed.
Yeah.
So
then the next scene is the four women at lunch, minus LTW. So it's the original three plus Seema. And so Carrie's telling them about this, and then she pulls out that line, the devil wears Prada, and then the woman's right to shoes line, which was from the, it's the one where she goes to that party. Tatum O'Neal throws a party and she has to take off her Manolo Blahniks and someone steals them. So that was the title of that episode. And I don't know what the Devil Wears Prada was from some other episode. But anyway, it's like, oh, how Carrie in her shoes and how cute. And in a way, it's just kind of like, I don't know. To me, it seemed very, she just seemed to be being juvenile, honestly.
Yeah. And I guess this is the thing is that, yes, we all know shoes are her thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. I just don't feel like, as a 50-year-old woman myself, that I would be acting like this. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like, where's the evolution? Where's the growth? Where's the, and even Miranda says something to Carrie like, oh my God, yeah, I hate my Airbnb. I've got this crazy neighbor who lives next door. And Carrie's just like, well, how is that helpful to me? Like, yeah, it's a little annoying because Miranda's doing the thing that a lot of people do, which is you complain about someone and someone wants to complain about the same exact thing in their own life. And it's rude and it's annoying, but why are you jumping to, she's just trying to tell you something. Like, it's just, the whole thing was just a little bit
Miranda was saying, he has writer's block, take your shoes off. They want this new novel or the new autobiography that's coming out. Not autobiography. I'm getting every word I say wrong. There's a new biography of whoever is, they're waiting for it. Miranda is waiting for it to drop. So she's like, just take your fucking shoes off, Carrie. They don't seem that sympathetic towards her, honestly.
Yeah, I guess not. But I was just like, God, this just set a bad taste in my mouth from the beginning. I was like, this is going to be the storyline? Her being just it just felt bratty.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt very juvenile and bratty for someone of her age.
It was.
Or advanced age.
So after lunch, Charlotte and Carrie take a walk, and Charlotte asks about Aiden. And thankfully, Carrie says, it's a relief to not be thinking about what to do about it all the time. And, he can't be there for me every day. And so, Carrie, I guess, just gonna live her life. And then this is foreshadowing where Charlotte says, I can't imagine, Harry not being with Harry every day. And Carrie says, luckily you don't have to. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
So the next scene is the next scene where she comes and gives him, I'm sure we have these scenes out of, I think actually next is maybe
Charlotte,
maybe LTW.
Well, we can just move over there and cover, because there's two. So Charlotte we see Charlotte and Harry going on a night walk with the dog, Richard Burton. And so as we were saying last time about justice for Harry, I guess there was a rhyme or reason for why they were setting all this stuff up, that, the peeing himself and the erectile dysfunction problems and all of that he has prostate cancer. And it's caught early. And again, I think this is a very common, this felt very real, very much like, yeah, this is, this most likely at least one of these men in this group would get prostate cancer. I mean, that's just statistically.
Yeah.
So.
But he doesn't want Charlotte to tell anyone.
Yeah. And I understand why, but
that's a lot to put on her. I mean, she's not supposed to tell her best friend. I mean, I understand, and he doesn't want to worry the girls, but they're going to find out eventually.
Yeah.
You can't hide something like that from your family,
Well, and also she's mad at the kids because they're like, we don't want to go glamping. We don't want to do this. And she's like, you don't know how much time you're going to have with your father. It's like, they don't know that. They don't know. So how are they going to change their opinions or want to do it differently if you don't tell them what's going on? Right. And so that to me feels like you're kind of setting these kids up to fail because they're just being kids. Of course, no one wants to go spend time. You know what I mean? It's very normal for Lily to want to be with her boyfriend. So guilting her and making her go, not knowing why.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's
right.
I don't think it's fair of him to put that on her.
Yeah.
Because it's just not it's not realistic.
Yeah. Oh. So we see all of this, and then we have the stuff with LTW because she's going. We hear that she's going to go glamping with. The whole family's going glamping with Charlotte and Harry, but she has to travel to Atlanta. And again, what is going on with this couple? Why is Herbert such an asshole?
He really was an asshole. He's been an asshole for the last
he has been.
Yeah, probably this whole season.
2 years. I feel like last season he was kind of an asshole. He was a good guy season 1. Season 2, it all became, so we have to make him an asshole for her to want to be with this other guy? I think it would be a little bit more interesting and complex if he was a really good guy and but he always puts everything on her or he doesn't know how to help her. And then she's got this other guy, but to make him a raging dick, no need to pack. What, you're packing for him? You're packing for these kids? She packed
for the whole family. And and the fact that he doesn't remember that they're even going and, it's all about him and, he's just, I guess it is a familiar formula, your husband's being an asshole and then along comes this, nice hot guy. It's what are you going to do?
Yeah. But it's just, is this really who LTW is? That she's just going to keep taking it and taking it and taking it. Do you know what I mean? That she's not going to have her kids pack themselves, that she's not going to, and even, okay, maybe they forgot about the glamping or whatever. I mean,
well, like Charlotte, she's caught up in this, they're not doing their family any favors. They're caught up in this, I'm going to be the perfect wife and the perfect mother, and I'm going to have the perfect kids, and I'm going to have a career, and I'm going to do this and that. And it's you're not doing any favors. You have Charlotte has two pretty spoiled children.
Yeah.
Especially that Lily. I would just want to smack her. And, LTW's kids, they seem sweet, but they seem helpless.
Mm-hmm.
So you're raising these helpless kids who can't pack their own suitcases, who kind of have no regard for anybody but themselves. And and then LTW needs, I think she needs this. She needs this to like snap everybody out of their stupor, because they're treating her like shit.
Yeah.
Charlotte's kids treat her like shit. Harry's very sweet to her, but her kids treat her like shit. And, something's brewing under there.
Yes. LTW wants to get her groove back.
Yes. So, she's on the plane with Marion, and she's, rushing because she's late. She's this poor woman. She gets up early. She has to pack everything. Then she has to go to Atlanta for the day and then get back and then get to Governor's Island. And then when she gets there, Herbert's mad at her because she forgot the chocolate.
Yeah. And she gets the middle seat too. She has to be squoze into that middle seat. She
liked that, being cuddled up next to Marion.
Maybe
I would,
but I and then on the writer's room, they're having this whole debate about whether or not did she hear it? Did she not hear it? Did she hear that? And I'm like, of course she would have heard it.
Of course she doesn't miss a thing. She doesn't miss a beat. She doesn't forget. Although wasn't there that one episode? I think it might have been the first season where she threw a birthday party for someone, and she forgot to
Herbert, and she forgot to send out the invites. Yeah.
But Charlotte is like, who cares? You can get it at the gift shop, because those glamping places have stores where you can get some more supplies and anything else that you need.
Yes, Brooke, was this kind of like when you went glamping?
It was very similar.
Yeah. Oh, that looks like fun. Actually, that's the kind of glamping I would actually do.
Yeah, no, that's with the big tents and stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, their glamping, though, I didn't think was very rustic, because basically your view is of Manhattan, with a few little trees there. But yeah, that's what glamping is. If you forget something, it doesn't matter, because you're not out in the middle of nowhere. And there's a store like 5 steps away, and there's a spa.
Yes. That's glamping.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to just hit Herbert when, he was bitching at her about the chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and then he sees a selfie on her phone that was taken on the plane of her and Marion, and now he's pissed.
Yeah.
Now he's worried.
Yes. Well, and so did she owe him the information that, he's a man, but he's also really, really hot. He's young and hot.
I don't know. I mean,
because that's what he's mad at her about. Like, what? Wait, you said that she said, I told you it was a man. And he's like, but you didn't tell me this.
Well, but what is she supposed to do? Like, in describing people, like, do you always have to have a qualifier, like hot or not? I mean,
no. And I don't have an answer to this, but I do think that there is something when people hide certain things about, like what she omitted, I think is telling. She didn't say, and he's also really young and hot, when they were debating this whether
but
or not
if she had said that, maybe he would have been like, well, whoa, wait a minute. I think she didn't want him to know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You knew this was going to be a problem. That's all.
Well, yeah, because she says to Charlotte, an hour later in the pool, she says, I have a work crush.
I took a day trip with this guy down to Atlanta, and now I'm in love.
Well, she has a work crush on her editor. And Charlotte, this information normally would just, send Charlotte into a tizzy, but because she's thinking about all this stuff with Harry, and she's just feeling so badly, she barely registers with her. And, LTW is very sweet and comforts her, and, she doesn't want to talk about it. But yeah, because Charlotte, and that's what she's clearly in a lot of pain, and Harry has said, don't tell anyone, and here's her friend. She could really use some comfort from her friend, and she can't tell her.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a terrible spot. It's a really, really terrible spot to be in. Because, yeah, you do want to be respectful of, and this has come up actually with clients. I've had this happen where, you know, either it was a child or a partner or someone, and, you know, they didn't want them to talk about it. And, you know, I usually urge them to go back and say, hey, I do need to talk to someone about it. So who would you be comfortable with? Or, okay, maybe I'll just go talk to a therapist, or maybe I'll go if you don't want anybody that's in our life. But, you know, I think that she's struggling too, and she needs some comfort and some relief too. So as a caregiver, so I do think it is a lot to ask someone to say, no, you cannot say anything to anybody, you know, even people that we know and trust. So, and he knows how close she has these, like, he knows she has these super close girlfriends. Like, this is what the show has always been about.
Yeah.
So, you know, why wouldn't you think she would want to tell them?
Well, you know what's interesting, because we were talking about how the show's making Harry, you know, sort of like a bumbling idiot. So when I finished watching this episode, somehow on Max, it reverted back to wherever I had left off watching Sex in the City, you know, because you know because like I'm always sort of watching it here or there, and then it went back to the last episode that I had been watching, and it was the one where Charlotte met Harry. You know, he was her divorce attorney, and then, you know, they have hot sex, and she's telling everyone, she's like, you know, I'm having the best sex of my life with this guy who's like just disgusting. You know, he's bald and he's sweaty and he's short and he's loud, and, you know, so she's really resisting, you know, so she's trying to, so Samantha tells her, well, just treat him, you know, like, just say this is just sex. Just be like a man. Just treat him like that. And actually, you know, and he just takes it, and he's actually he's much sexier in those episodes. Like, I remember, you know, because she's being like trying to be mean to him, and he's just like, okay, whatever, you know. I mean, and it was really interesting to see the Harry character from back then, you know, who was super confident and cool, and just telling Charlotte, you know, I don't care, whatever, you know, he was so cool. And I don't know, again, justice for Harry. Like, I don't know why they're doing this to him.
Yeah, I know. Well, but I mean, I think it makes sense though. And in the writer's room, they talked about how they wanted to sprinkle in some things along the way that might show, some symptoms. I'm like, you couldn't pick the other symptoms? Aren't there other ones besides these two?
I think that's it. I think, the urinary stuff is a big one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think those are the symptoms.
Sorry, then we have no choice. we just have to go there. But anyway, justice for Harry. So we'll see. And, you know, the actor Evan Handler, you know, he's a cancer survivor. He's struggled with some pretty severe medical issues very early in his life.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Okay. So now we're off track completely, but let's go back on track to
Psych Legal Pop. We'll be right back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like, it's just one bombshell after another, you know, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's get back to Carrie and Miranda. So basically, after Charlotte and Carrie have this conversation about Aiden and what's happening, Carrie's like, okay, I need to get this guy some kind of gift basket or something. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go around to the neighborhood and get stuff for the gift basket. So she goes down to Duncan's place. It's the middle of the day, so he is awake and writing. Mm-hmm. So these night hours are a little all over the place. And she gives him this gift basket. He's a bit more pleasant, mm-hmm. like a little bit nicer. And then he gives her these slippers. And then she also pretends like she didn't know who he was. Oh, Duncan? Oh, you're a writer? Oh, I'm a writer too.
I'm a writer too.
But this slippers thing, I don't know. I think in the writer's room, the way they talked about it, they were all like pro Carrie's behavior. And I was like, really? I mean, yeah, it's presumptuous. The slippers are ugly. Yeah, I didn't even take it out of the packaging. Probably smelled gross. But are you supposed to be an ass? Like throw it, like just not even take it with you? I don't know. Well, am I too nice? Maybe I need to be more of an ass. I don't know.
Well, I think she would. Well, she was insulted, clearly.
Yeah.
Because, her attitude seems to be, this is my house and mm-hmm. I will do what I want to. And she's being inconsiderate. Gift basket aside.
Yeah.
That's a really big thing. I mean, didn't you live underneath some people who you had to move out because they were so bad, like them walking on top of you and whatever. And that's, walking around you don't need to walk around your house in high heels. That, mm-hmm. especially if you have someone downstairs. I mean, she's being rude and inconsiderate, and he's basically calling her out on it. I don't think mm-hmm. he expects her to wear the slippers, but it's his way of saying, look, this is serious to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I really need you to do this.
Yeah.
And she just it's just sort of like, no, doesn't even want to touch the slippers, just puts them back. And then when she leaves, and then he also complains about the construction in the garden, mm-hmm. That Adam and his nephew are doing. And she leaves and says, well, it's New York City. There's noise. Mm-hmm. So she's still just being...
Yeah, that's what I'm just like, okay, yeah. There's noise. Okay. Yes, that is true. And...
Yeah, no, she's wrong. I think she's wrong.
Again, I just think that if you're trying to negotiate with someone, if you're trying to work something out and get to a resolution, you cannot be an asshole. You just can't reject everything that they say. You can't, mm-hmm. You have to make some concessions. You have to do that, which she finally gets to. And she does buy those rugs, which I was like, okay, that was nice. Good. I'm glad. Buy the rugs. Do a few things. You have tons of money and time, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is so I think the day before or night before, Miranda has been having problems with this Airbnb because this person next to her keeps playing heavy metal music. She wrote a note, put it under the door once, it worked. So she wrote a second note another time and put it under the door. And we see, I guess this is a classic New York naked man with meat cleaver.
Oh yeah, it happens
situation
all the time.
So that, I mean, they needed some kind of plot, something to get her over to live with Carrie.
Well, yeah, because she had talked to Carrie previously where it was Carrie asked her to move in. Did Carrie ask her to move in first? She says, why don't you just move in with me? And then Miranda was like, oh, no, I like my privacy too much. And then Carrie said, oh, yeah, you're right. I like mine too. I mean, I think neither one of them really wanted that.
Yeah.
So they kind of left it alone. Apparently they used to live together back in the 90s or something. But the whole point was living with friends when you're in your 20s and 30s is a lot different than in your 50s.
Yes.
Because you're so set in your ways and you have your things and you want your privacy and all of that. But yeah, they had to do something so severe, like a naked man standing there with a meat cleaver.
Yes.
That had to be so drastic to drive Miranda into Carrie's house.
Yes. So yeah, they start living together. And so immediately, like, Miranda arrives and she's like, ooh, so she's concerned about Miranda's suitcase, but not her shoes.
Right.
Making noise. And that was the weird thing. It was like, so now you're going to pay attention to this. And then she's talking to Miranda about like taking her shoes off, but Carrie can keep hers on because she knows how to walk in them softly.
Yeah. That
was weird.
That didn't come off well. She really came off as a jerk in this episode.
Yeah. Well, and so then Miranda knows that Duncan lives there, so she grabs her book, which no one knew where it came from, and right? And this felt very real, of Carrie being very mortified and Miranda being like, "Hi, can you sign my book?" And he's very kind and charming and nice to Miranda, and signs the book, and on his way, and okay, everyone's met him.
Yeah. Okay. So then Miranda is getting ready to go on a little date, or just going over to Joy's house. And so she's getting dressed and Carrie's helping her. It's sort of like, girlfriends, like getting, helping each other pick out an outfit or get ready. And Carrie gives her this scarf, and she brings up how Miranda had previously lost some bag of hers. She's like, oh, take this. And Miranda's like, oh, no. And Carrie's like, oh, it's nothing. I got it at a flea market. But that's the thing with Carrie. Everything is like, she makes a big deal about it, and then it's like she pulls back. And it's just like, oh, no. Like, this very passive aggressive.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah. No, it is. Because it's like, if your stuff is so precious and you act like it is always so precious, then again, you are 50 some odd years old. You've loaned things to people. You know how this works. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know how this works. You know how to do this. I will say that I did enjoy, at first, like that whole scene with the yogurt and the banana.
That was hilarious.
I can see that was interesting because I could see how, Miranda would get something stuck in her mind of like, you never ate breakfast. You just had a cigarette, and not making the connection. Like, she doesn't smoke anymore, and she probably is eating breakfast. And it is possible that she decided to start eating something that she didn't eat before.
Okay. But the way Carrie got so incredulous about it. Okay. Someone's coming to stay with you. Okay. They just got there. No one's had time to go grocery shopping or do anything. The next morning, they get up, they want to eat your yogurt. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I thought it was a little much too.
She was so rude about it. It's like, you took the last yogurt, and Miranda's like, oh, I didn't realize. Like, I'm team Miranda on this. She got up, she's hungry, she sees a banana, she sees a yogurt. This is her good friend. It's not like there's some dearth of food, that you can't go out and get more food. And, Carrie is being a horrible host.
Yeah, she's not a good host.
No, she's a horrible host. And, Miranda could have been more like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to go to the store after this and I'll stock up. And what kind of yogurt do you like or whatever. But someone eats your last yogurt in their first day. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing that makes me crazy too is all of this is all relative. And all I can think is, Carrie, You have no fucking job. You have endless amounts of money. Miranda doesn't have endless amounts of money, and she has a fucking job, and stuff going on.
She's working at a nonprofit.
Yes, she's doing a lot of stuff here. And yes, I know you're a writer, Carrie, but you do not have to write in order to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You have so much goddamn money. You can't go to the store and stock it up. And again, I think that what we were seeing with Miranda and Carrie was, I think it's very much like a 50-year-old that's never had children and a 50-year-old that has.
Mm-hmm.
Because Miranda knows when you have kids, you do not get attached to anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the last time I've had leftover pizza. I don't know the last time I've had leftover any certain things, because it gets wiped out. And so you don't get too attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see how this woman who's never had kids, never really known what it's like to have milk in the house and all those kinds of things when you're a parent. But at the same time, you do know how to act as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's
as
like, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see the feelings behind it, but I just feel like, wouldn't you be better about this now? I don't know.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about when Miranda goes over to Joy's house.
Yes. Yes.
This is awkward because it's almost like they don't show what happens before they go into the bedroom, but it seems as if Miranda arrives and they just walk right into her bedroom and they're just going to have sex. And I don't know, that just felt, it felt like, there was no warm up, no start on the couch, have a glass of wine. We're just going to walk straight into the bedroom. And
well, maybe they already went to dinner. Maybe they already made out on the couch and now they're going over to it.
I needed some context. It just was all of a sudden, here we are in the bedroom.
Yes,
and she tried. Now, this kind of reminded me of your dogs, you and your dogs, because you do this thing where, the dogs are, barking or whining or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, stop. Now stop. Stop doing that. And then, you close the door and you walk away and they just go right back at it. And the dogs are out there whining and crying. And it's so funny. And then you're like, I said, stop, stop it. As if they speak English, as if that means anything to them.
As if it's ever worked.
No,
right. Really, literally, Steve and I are constantly going, and I'm like, what is this doing? This isn't helping. But I can't, it's like when they start to bark, you feel so, just to do nothing feels so weird. Cause sometimes I'll just do nothing and I just have to let it ride out. But there is something about feeling like, shut up, you have to they're stressing you out. So
obligatory, stop, don't do that.
Yes. But this was very truthful about dogs, which is also why my husband and I, we do not sleep with our dogs. And I know a lot of people do. And, I think it's fine, but I do think it's gonna create problems, and this is one of them.
Yeah. Miranda, they couldn't even do it.
Yeah.
Miranda had to leave.
So this is what I was confused about. So do you think she and Joy went back over to Carrie's house?
No.
Or, okay, because we would have seen Joy.
Yeah, no, she didn't come back with Miranda. Miranda came home and Carrie wasn't expecting her, thought she was going to be at Joy's and caught her naked in the hallway.
So I got to give Cynthia Nixon a lot of credit for just letting it all hang out there. And
she had to do that last season too. Remember when she went into that cryo float thing when she was in LA?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She had to do the full frontal nudity then too.
Yeah.
So, bravo to her.
Yes.
It's a great body.
Well, I give her a lot of credit too, because she's, and she's also not, obviously she's a woman who has had a child and, she's not the skinny little thing. She doesn't look like
for a 55-year-old woman, she's skinny.
She looked good, but I'm just saying, I liked seeing a normal body.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Not someone who had been, or that she felt comfortable enough too. So.
Yeah, no, she looks skinny to me. So yeah, I don't know what happened with her and Joy, if they ever actually were able to do it, or they just gave up. I don't know. That whole storyline is really boring. I don't know where that's going.
Well, we did forget. Well, we've forgotten about Seema completely, but we also forgot about the big grand romantic gesture that Aiden bought Carrie that table.
Yes, the table shows up in a moving van. So he was the one who bought it before she could. So, yeah, so now they have this big, huge table.
Yeah.
Which comes in.
I don't know. I mean, I was like, okay. I mean, it keeps kind of Aiden alive in this story, and it feels like something maybe he would do. But there was this other part of me that's like, yeah, he's really breadcrumbing her. This is what they call breadcrumbing. Like, you just give this person just enough to keep them on the hook.
But I think they have this understanding. I thought at this point is that
it's an understanding, but it does feel it's like
I mean they clearly love each other, care about each other. They just can't be together, and they don't know what's going to happen. So, anyway, at some point, I don't know where this happened, but Carrie is texting Samantha. Oh, because she wants to get dirt on the writer.
Yes,
her tenant. And I don't know. I was trying to understand what those texts meant, but I think it was something along the lines of, he in London was kind of a player or something. Like,
well, I think she just basically said, "Hey, what do you know about Duncan? This guy, Duncan Reeves. Duncan Reeves." And she says, "Oh, I heard. Well, yeah, I've heard of him. I guess he's supposed to be a lot of fun." And then Carrie says, "Oh, well, he's staying underneath, right below me or underneath me." And Samantha writes back like, "Oh, I wish he was underneath me." Ha 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 ha. Because that's exactly what she would say. And that was it.
Well, because also at some point in here, Seema needs a business loan. And so this is another throwback, Sex and the City throwback. So she goes to the bank and she's talking to this banker, and it's the same actress, the same woman who turned Carrie down for a loan when she wanted to buy her building, when Aiden, she and Aiden broke up. Yeah. And she needed money. And what did she say? You don't have enough, something about her assets. You're
not a desirable candidate.
Yeah, you're not a desirable candidate. Something about her assets. So it's the exact same woman, and Seema's trying to, kind of sweet talk her about, women, banding together against these men.
This I thought was weird. This whole thing did not match at all. So, because with Carrie, that made complete sense when all that happened. That you could see completely, because again, she doesn't even know she has all this money now. She doesn't even know what's going on. So that's a complete, you could see that. This I felt was really weird because Seema's a together businesswoman. She's, obviously you have money. You should have money, right? Are you spending all of your extra money?
Well, that's what Linda was questioning her about.
The driver and all of that. And the other thing too is you have no assets. You own nothing. You don't own. You're a real estate agent and you're closing these multi-million-dollar deals, and you don't own anything that's an asset.
But is she? That's the thing. She's been giving off this air of, I'm so successful. She's got a driver. It's those people who, drive expensive cars, wear designer clothes, and they go back to their shitty apartment at night. Where you're spending all of your money on, trying to look rich, on luxury designer items. And really, you don't own anything. There's tons of people like that. And it's not just people on the lower end of it's all the way up. It's no, I know. It's Trump. It's like,
well, no, I'm with you on that. I've seen a lot of it. I'm with you. But so my question was, so is this going to be a storyline? Because none of this has ever been, we have never, ever, ever gotten any kind of inkling that Seema's bad with money.
Well, now,
in the 2.5 years we've been watching, we have not gotten any inkling of this. So it is possible. You're absolutely right. This might be moment one.
Yeah.
Where we, behind the curtain, we see
the jig
what's
is
really,
up
what's
with
really
her.
going on. Which would, I think, then make it interesting, because I'm still struggling with Seema. I don't know, like, this whole storyline of her, like, I guess I'm just.
Well, here's the thing. I think she's going to become more interesting because she's going to become poor, and she's going to start like dating this guy.
Yeah. Okay. That might be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the only way to make her interesting, is we have to make her poor and with some scruffy guy, but who's really nice. So yeah. So then they go back to Carrie's apartment or house, whatever it is. And Adam is out. Well, she's outside smoking. So the guy, Adam, and his nephew are just kind of sitting there because Duncan has told them, you're too loud. So they're just, I don't know what they're doing. They're sitting in the garden, and Seema is out there pacing, smoking, I guess waiting for a call from Linda.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good news. And then Adam says, can I have a drag of your cigarette? And so then they start, talking and sharing, and you can see it's very obvious that.
Well, and he mentions a girlfriend. He mentions that he's seeing someone, that he's dating someone. So we shall see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I think that he I think would be a good match for her. So I would like to see that. I do not want to see her with another rich, handsome 60-year-old that treats her like crap.
Yeah.
I'm kind of done with this. And I'm also I want to see who Seema is. I feel like you want us to like her. So let us see her vulnerability. Let us see that. And I just don't feel like I'm getting enough of that with her. I just don't. Because I'm a little bit annoyed. Like, why don't you have any money? What is going on here?
We're going to find out. We're going to find out. The walls are coming down. She's been living, she's been living a lie.
This becomes like a whole separate thing where everything starts falling apart in Seema's life. Now, there's this other thing that again, maybe I'm the asshole. Maybe I just don't know anything about people, but this whole thing where Miranda goes to Carrie and says, hey, do you think Seema could help me find a place? Now, I understand Carrie's initial thing of like, oh, Seema kind of does multi-million-dollar properties like what I have. And she's not looking for a 2-bedroom and, wherever for you. And I can understand that. And she says, well, I don't really want to mix friends with business. And then I'm thinking to myself, but you've done several business deals with Seema. It would be one thing if Seema was a real estate agent that you never worked with and you don't want to mix these things. It's a little bit like, okay, so it's okay for you to do business with Seema, but you don't want Miranda to even ask and Seema's a smart enough woman that she will, she's confident enough, she'll say no if she doesn't want to.
Yeah. Also, Miranda's not a slouch. They sold their brownstone in Brooklyn, and I'm sure she's walking around with a lot of cash. She needs a place. Yeah. No, Carrie's just selfish. Carrie's just always thinking about Carrie. Well, how is this going to affect me? What finally breaks her of that is this table scene with Miranda. So Miranda's got all of her stuff spread out all over the new table from Aiden. She's got her computer. She's got papers everywhere. She's eating Mexican food. She's got Mexican Coke that's open on the table. And so, of course, I forget how the bottle of Coke gets knocked over.
Carrie is the one that spills the bottle of Coke.
So Carrie bumps into it, whatever. The Coke spills. It starts getting all over the computer and her research papers, and they're scrambling, trying to, wipe it up. Carrie's trying to wipe it up with Miranda's research, and she's like, no, that's my research. And then it's just like a comedy thing where, and then Miranda gets that scarf that she loaned her the night before, and then starts wiping the table with that. And Carrie's like, that's my scarf. And Miranda said, you said it was nothing. It didn't mean anything to you. And it was just, a total metaphor, for this whole thing. And they realized, finally, Carrie's like, Seema, can you help Miranda find a place to live?
Yeah. Yeah.
They really, it's not going to work.
And maybe Seema, because Seema's like, well, you have to be okay with, just being out of my apartment and stuff. It's like, do real estate agents you have to look kind of baller. You have to look successful. I'm with her on all of that. But do you need this spectacular office? So I think this is kind of maybe opening the door. Maybe Seema's going to find another way of doing this, like without having to get a building, without, the modern day tele version of everything.
Yeah.
So we shall see. But I think that's everything. I think we covered. Oh no, we didn't even do the last scene with Carrie and the fire.
Oh yeah. So who is she? She's out in her courtyard. Who is she talking to?
I think she was talking to Adam and Jamie's the nephew.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, she's talking to them, and all of a sudden she smells smoke and coming out of Duncan's place, and she looks through the window, and there's all this smoke, and she busts down the door, and
yeah. And again, I guess he's so engrossed in his writing that he can't see or hear. Because I know he's got big headphones. Yeah. He had big headphones on, but okay. And so he basically, a pot on the stove was boiling over, and then he got a kitchen towel and the fire and the flame, and then that fell to the floor. So it almost started a fire. And Carrie was able to put the fire out with one of her shoes, with her high heel shoes. Oh, and so that got them out to dinner. And having dinner, and he reveals that he, is struggling writing this woman, Margaret Thatcher. They both reveal we're both doing something new and different, and it's scary. And so they have this nice meal, and then the next scene we see is her going back to her apartment, and then her finally taking off her shoes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He's been humanized, I guess, enough for her that she actually cares about his feelings. As opposed to caring about his feelings first, and then because he is a human. Okay.
Right. Well, and I can't help but think that this guy has to be there for her as a love interest, right? Why would they go through all this trouble of developing this character and this whole background, and they're both writers and blah, blah, blah. So it feels like this has got to be something.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely got to be something. I don't know if it'll be like a romance, or if maybe she has feelings for him and that sort of pushes her with the Aiden stuff. I mean, we thought Adam was there for her, but he's not.
Except for Seema.
So we shall see. We shall see. But it's so interesting because when we watched the show when it was on, Sex and the City, I think Carrie was someone that people liked, that she was, she was this, I did not dislike her. And it's so interesting hearing all these younger women, like the younger generation, started watching the show going, this woman's an asshole. And it was like, and now you can really see it. It's like almost like I can't unsee it now, of just how. And again, I think that when she was younger, when she was in her 30s and, money and struggling and life and, Biggs doing this and that and who am I and all that stuff, I think I had a lot more understanding of it. This is what I was saying when this whole season, this idea of if the show is about women in their 50s, this is an asshole. Like, she's really a dick. I'm sorry. She hasn't gotten better when it comes to certain things.
So she's just still
self-involved.
I didn't really see. Yeah, I didn't notice it till much later. Yeah, till people started pointing it out, and then you go back and you watch Sex and the City, and you're like, oh yeah, she was a really bad friend. Most of the time.
Yeah,
and she was very needy, and it was all about her. And now it kind of, I don't know. Now it's more like she's just, I just feel like she's out of touch, you know, she's just very out of touch. And so she comes off as being kind of a jerk. I mean, yeah. Why would she get so mad at Miranda about a yogurt and a banana? God, this is your good friend of like 30 years who's been there for you. And, you know, like when Big died, who was there sleeping in her bed?
Yeah.
Miranda, you know, when he left her at the altar, and, you know, who was there like feeding you? You know what I mean? It's like, God, let her eat your yogurt.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you can't call Postmates, DoorDash, Uber Eats, anything.
Or just walk down to the corner bodega and if you need a banana.
Get something.
I mean, God.
Yeah. And so that's, that's the part that I really struggle with. And then when I listen to these writers in the writer's room defending this behavior, like, oh, isn't this great? We have to get them to start fighting. It's like, okay, you know, so are you guys all assholes too? I mean,
they're the ones writing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did not want to watch the writer's room or listen to it. Couldn't help myself. I need to get off of that because it's just infuriating.
Well, because I always feel like I'm going to pick something up from it. I'm like, oh, I should listen to it so I can be informed. And, you know, and I do. And I'm always very curious because I want to try to understand what they're thinking, like why. But again, you know.
But who cares why? I mean, the show is for everyone to watch and decide for themselves what they think of it. And what Michael Patrick King thinks this is all about is really, who cares?
Yeah.
He's a weirdo.
Yes. I just, again, it's just so, it's just really offensive to listen to this man talk about a show about women, you know, and talking over all these women. I mean, this show is supposed to be about women and women's stories.
He wouldn't even let the writer of the episode talk. So
yeah,
what chance is there?
All right. Well, we'll be back next week.
We'll be watching it again until the end of time, as long as they keep putting it out. So
yes.
Don't you worry.
I don't know. I gotta work on my attitude before I start, because the thing is, I don't watch it right away. So I already start seeing the rumblings of people, and, you know, I can hear the annoyances, and I think I start to get annoyed. But anywho, all right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We are here. We're doing, and just like that, these are dropping on Mondays. Thursdays, we're still doing various documentaries. This Thursday is going to be Trainwreck, the tragedy of Astroworld, which was very interesting.
Very.
And if you want more from us, you can check out our Patreon, where we do a weekly bonus. We have some extras for our higher tiers. Please follow us on social media. We're here on YouTube now. So if you haven't seen us on YouTube or subscribed to our channel, please go over there. You can follow us on all the major social media. You can give us a 5-star rating and review, follow the podcast, share it with a friend, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for listening and being here, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellows wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, ladies. When you've done the work, you want your hydration to do the same. Introducing new Gatorade Lower Sugar, now with no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors. And 75% less sugar and all the electrolytes of regular Gatorade, now available nationwide.